It was quite some time, actually, before you found out.
How did you find
Adrian
out?
Pogmore had been doing this. Yeah, how did you find out?
Yeah, the footage was taken in 2007 from the family home that we shared. It came to the police's attention in 2015, and I got a phone call from South Yorkshire Police in 2015 to ask if I was the Tracey Dixon that lived in that property at the time. I said I did, and they said that he needed to come and see me about an incident, and they came the following morning.
So they didn't tell you on the phone what it was?
No, in fairness, I don't think that's something they could have probably told me over the phone.
So they came to your house and they sat down with a laptop or a DVD or whatever, and they played these pictures to you. Could you believe what you were seeing?
Funnily enough, when they came, they started asking questions regards the helicopter, and immediately I said, were they videoing me? And I knew before they even opened the laptop.
Really?
It was, they were over my house in that for a couple of years, probably 3 or 4 times a week during that period. But I didn't know, I thought I was on some kind of flight path. I would never have known that they were videoing me.
And you weren't growing cannabis, and you weren't trafficking stolen goods. There was no particular reason that they should have been over your house.
It was my family home that I shared with my husband at the time and my 3 children, and we were just doing normal family things in the garden, including sunbathing. And at the time, I was sunbathing naked with my other 2 children were either side of me, and
they were how old?
15 and 18 at the time. They had bikinis on, and my youngest daughter, Florence, she would have only been 8 at the time, and she was also on the video in a bathing suit.
And that's what makes you particularly angry and sick?
Very, very, because we were very, very private. I mean, it was a rural property, large gardens, very high trees, and gates. Gated. There was no one would have been able to see us at all. And
were there more than one occasion when you were sunbathing naked and you saw the helicopter? Did you ever imagine that could?
No. Well, if I thought that they were a little close, I would cover over, because I would have a sarong, so I would cover over. But there was no legitimate reason for them to be over my garden at all.
Tracey, do you think this was a one-off?
No. No, like I said, it was probably 2 or 3 times a week, if not more, in the summer, over a period of a couple of years. So the fact that they found the 1 DVD is a bonus, because obviously he's been charged for that offence. But there's got to be more, because the investigating police officers did tell me that the camera is on from taking off to landing. So if that's the case,
there's more footage out there.
There's a lot more.
Somebody's got it somewhere.
Yeah.
How graphic was it? In terms of detail. I mean, is it obvious?
Are
you fuzzy in it? Are you out of focus?
No, not at all. It's obvious it's me, and he panned in.
Do you know
what we'll do, Ruth, is show people just that distance and how things could be in focus. So from the distance that the helicopter was over you, we're looking right across the river here to give you an idea with a camera as to what you can see. And there you are. That's the sort of detail that you could see. And bear in mind, a police helicopter could be much more forensic than that with the equipment that it has.
Yeah, they say you can see a number plate for 2 miles. So given that, it didn't have to be directly over me. It could have been, over the farmer's field next door, anywhere.
How concerned are you about how many people have seen that footage?
Very. I think more because my children are on there, and what I did for a living 20, 30 years ago is irrelevant.
So we haven't mentioned that, but you were a page 3 model?
I was, in the 80s, yes. And but my children choose not to do anything like that. And it was our private garden. And I kept them away from all of that. And to think that the police have done it, I wouldn't have wanted anyone videoing in my garden, let alone South Yorkshire Police, while they were on duty.
Well, it was one police officer, wasn't it? It's Adrian Pogmore. Nobody else has been.
But wait a minute. Somebody had to fly the helicopter. He had crew there in the helicopter. They didn't just sort of accidentally fly over the top of Tracey's house every week.
They didn't know exactly what he was filming.
How do we know they don't know?
Because that was found in court, wasn't it?
You do think that you two may have known each other. He certainly knew of you because you went to the same school.
We did, and the police did ask me at the time if I knew a Pogmore, and I said I went to school with a Pogmore, but not sure if it's the same person, but it comes to light it was. So whilst he wasn't in my year, I think a relative of his was in my year, I don't know how long he's been doing this, and that's really creepy.
Do you think he knew it was you?
Absolutely. I lived in that property 23 years, and he would have known that I lived there.
And just finally, what do you think of this being a use of police resources?
It's total waste of resources. That's the largest resource that the South Yorkshire Police had at the time, costing, I think it's $1,000 an hour, or it's a lot of money to send it up every time. And if it was going over my property and just for that reason and not being called out for any other reason, that's a lot of taxpayers' money that has been wasted. Absolutely.